Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Bridge. My name is Adebola Kolawole, and as always, I have with me my co-hosts, Ademola and Mudupe, and they are ready to slice and divide today's topic. How are you guys doing?
Man, blessed and highly favored. Thank you for asking. And well, it's another beautiful day. I say kudos to my to our viewers. It's great to have you, ladies.
That's great, Raske and Mudupe. How is it going on your end?
Excellent. Greetings,
Good.
everyone. Good to
That's
have
good.
you all. We're back like we never left. Thank you.
Exactly. You're looking radiant. That's beautiful.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so today's conversation is one that many immigrants avoid for far too long. And not because it's not important, but just because it sometimes feels confusing, I would say, and maybe in a little bit intimidating, or maybe simply too far away. And that is, we're talking about retirement. For many people in the diaspora, for instance, retirement planning wasn't something that we grew up hearing about. I believe Demola and Mudupe can bear me witness on that. Back home, retirements often just mean something like family support, community, or maybe land ownership, business ownership, or just maybe simply continue to work till whenever it's possible. But here in the US, the system is different, and we have to try to adapt to get to know how things work here. So when you hear things like 401k and the likes, you hear IRA, Roth IRA, and tax advantages, life insurance. For many people, it actually sounds like another language. And then you see time going by. Before you know it, people in their 40s, they're in their 40s, people in their 50s, even 60, they're asking, do I start, did I start too late, or am I doing enough? Or what options do I still have? So today we're going to break things down in a very simple and practical way. And without wasting time, I want us to just go and dive into it. So my first point today is understanding the basics. Let's see what these strategies are and how they differ from each other. Many people contribute to retirement accounts without fully understanding, how they work and how they are taxed, or why one option may fit them better than another option. So my first question, Modipe, I would like you to take that. Let's start with the basics. What exactly are the differences between a traditional 401k, 403b and the likes, a traditional IRA and a Roth account?
Thank you, Deborah. I guess today's topic is more of an educative conversation. So I hope you all will listen in, and hopefully it's going to bring up quite a few, questions and follow up. I need to know, because that's most of the time that's what we find out. All of this 401k, 403b that you hear us talk about, they are nothing but qualified retirement account, which means they have been qualified by a particular agency called the Internal Revenue Services. Okay. And all of these numbers or with the code that you hear are all in the Internal Revenue Code. So, being called or referred to as qualified retirement account, we have the likes of the 401k, just like Debola talked about. We have the 403b, we have the 457, and we have the TSP. Now, all of this, I like to call them brothers and sisters of the same daddy and mommy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because their daddy and mommy in this case is Internal Revenue Service, IRS,
Yeah.
and all of these are internal revenue codes. Now, depending on who your employer is, will determine which of these qualified retirement accounts you will have, because the employers are the ones who are, pretty much offering these plans to you. Okay. And then you are now at liberty okay, to either take on the plan as a participant, okay? And most of the time, just like Debola said again, traditionally, so the traditional plans are just your pure 401k, 403b, TSP. Now, TSP will be the thrift saving plan if you work for the federal government, okay? 403b will be if you have, I'm working with a non-for-profit, organization. Now, all of this is saying literally you contribute to this plan pre-tax before they ever take anything out of your tax, out of your gross payment, right, for taxes. And so usually when you pay that, it helps to use your taxable income today. But that does not preclude you from tax payment, because usually that's the, I mean, a myth or the so-called wrong misconception that a lot of people have. They say, yes, we never pay tax on this money, we will never pay tax on it. But no, it doesn't work that way. You pay tax, you do not pay tax today, you defer it for tax payment tomorrow when you withdraw the money for retirement. Now, some employers are very, very, generous, and then they offer you the matching contribution, which is essentially free money. So, I mean, one of the things I'm going to encourage, and I know everybody here is going to encourage, is, if your employer is matching, why not? Take advantage of the free money on the table. Yeah. Now, most people now go ahead and still, probably because they don't have an employer, they don't work for any individual. There is something now called the traditional IRA. Okay, I for India, R for Robert, A for Apple, which again, it's individual retirement account. Similarly, from the same tax standpoint. But in this case, you could independently open this account. You don't have to open it through a job. Though there are thresholds, to all of this conversation, and I know we probably will get to it as we go down the lane. Then the last one, which I call the Roth, okay? Just from the word Roth. The Roth could be on any of these codes we talked about, the 401k, the 403b, and even the IRA. What does that mean in simple language? It means that taxes will be taken today, right, from your contribution. So that when you're ready to take your money out in form of withdrawal during retirement, your retirement comes to you tax-free later. So that is what the Roth means. And again, good. Every of these things has thresholds, required. I'm probably going to throw it back to you, Demola, if you want to take care of the other area of differences. Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for, shedding a lot of light on understanding. Yeah. Those internal revenue codes, because, what it just means for is also really understanding what all these things and how they work. Because one of the things that I, when I speak to people or my clients, I'm always trying to understand, what is the understanding? What do they even understand by these codes? And most people are so, the financial knowledge with regards to some of these things are not known. So we just try to just let us understand that these are the codes that are out here, and it's very important for us to understand how all these codes work. So now the question is, even understanding it, how does it work to you, or how is it working for you? Those are other things that we could really go into. But one of the key things I also want us to understand is, one of our episodes we talked about having a mindset, knowing, if you're coming into a new economy, understanding how that economy works. So the question is, if you're going to be paying taxes, if somebody's telling you to pay taxes now, do you understand what that means? If you're paying taxes now, or vice versa, deferring tax later. So those are some of the things that you have to look at it for your personal self. What does your financial landscape looks like? How does this help me in my financial journey to be able to whether retire comfortably the way I want it? But you have to have this thing, understand the basis of this knowledge so that you can, plan whatever, what your strategy or your retirement plan would look like. So understanding these internal revenue codes is very, very, very critical. if you want to really have a solid financial portfolio or solid financial outcome. That's what I would just
Wow.
say.
Thank you very much, guys. You've actually, you've broken it down in a great way to get this started, and I bet people are, getting it gradually because, to be sincere, this could be confusing. Some of us started, we didn't even know where we started. We just know that, oh, I have a 401k somewhere. Oh, that means my retirement is secured. But it's not always so. Understanding and knowing what you have is very important. All right. So, what about choosing the right plan? It's another thing to understand. Now you're faced with decision. You need to make the decision. Which plan, what strategy is going to be the best for me? So, choosing the right retirement, uh, it does depend on income level. Sometimes what the employer has to offer, taxes and all that. So how does someone know which retirement option would fit their own situation?
That's a very good question, and I think Dave Muller touched base on that.
A little bit here.
Things of this nature are not a one size fit all. And that's the reason why every single person will need to go through what I call KYC. Know yourself, just like you knowing your client. What is my desired objective when I retire? What is my family's goal? What are we planning to achieve? If I plan to achieve this, what is the appropriate vehicle that will take me there? Oh, I currently have this in place. If I intend to achieve this, now I can identify what is the gap. So it makes the conversation easier as I walk through the path. So it's definitely will always start with, you understanding what is your current financial picture. So for instance, if your employer is matching, any of this qualified retirement account we talked about, it's usually a strong pace to begin with, right? Because you don't want to leave money on the table. Not all employers matches anyway, so you might want to ask the question. You need to know. I started with quite a few people there, and they're like, I don't know.
They don't know, yeah.
Seriously?
They don't
And I'm
know.
like, seriously, you don't know. You need to know. It's on a need to know basis, people. So after that, factors like what is my income level right now? And I've started this conversation over and over again while I, communicate and educate our immigrant community. I say that I ask the question, and it makes a lot of sense. Whatever income you're earning right now, I don't know how you're going to slice or dice it. It's the least you're going to ever earn in your lifetime, because it's either you're growing, you're getting promotion, or you're probably expanding your financial bandwidth or what have you. So your income level, you need to understand it. And there's something called tax bracket in the US. Your tax bracket will end up determining what that effective tax rate is going to look like. And so flexibility becomes something that is important. At the end of the day, if you look me in the face and you tell me, Dupe, this is all I need, just one single vehicle, I know you've not done your due diligence, because I believe you should have a diversified portfolio that takes care of every single of these things, such that the right strategy will be dependent not just on your income, your goals, and you're able to think about taxes if it changes or if it doesn't change. That conversation of taxes changes another thing. I'm not going to let out the cat out of the bag on this section. So I'm throwing it back at you, Demola. I don't know if you have any other things to say.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of things that just right in the right direction. Especially if you're a younger employee. Often, it might benefit you to consider maybe using a Roth option because you're in a lower tax bracket right now. So that way, you're already taking care of all the taxes. You don't have to worry about anything. You're not worried about taxes. But if you're heavy on the tax burden, yeah, maybe something like, you electing into a 401k might be something that would work for you. But like we say, there's no one size fits all. And when we talk about these things, what we're just trying to do is just bring some light to it. This is on a one-to-one basis to really understand what is the outcome, what are you trying to achieve, because how do you pick out a strategy if you don't know what your end goal is? Your end goal determines what kind of strategy you will use. If I have a job whereby I need to use nails, I need to put nails in the wood. Am I using a hammer, or am I going to take out a spanner? So you
Mhm.
have to be able to get to understand the right tools out there and use the right tool for the right job to get the desired outcome that you want. So we have to look at all these things. It's not a one size fits all. So you at times, as when you're looking at your retirement planning, should are you looking at something as long term, are you looking at short term? And this is one of the reasons why Modupe made mention to the fact that you have to really exercise all the portfolios that are out there, the strategies that are out there, and look at the one that will work best for you.
With
And
your goal.
it's something you can layer. There's so I mean, this could be, we could talk about this all day, but it's something that I feel like if anybody needs more information, this is where we could, this is our area of expertise whereby you can sit with us and we can show you what the options are out there. So I'll trade back to you, Adebola.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm really enjoying this because you're actually bringing out the important message, things that people need to know, because like you said that a lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't even know. I don't know what's going on," and that's the way it's been. So your retirement planning needs to align with the stage you are in life and also your long-term goal. That is something very important that came out of what Mudupe and Demola just mentioned. So let's move on to the fact that uh, with here tax advantage strategies beyond the 401k and the likes, before beyond the 403b and all that. So many people think retirement planning begins actually or ends with 401k and the likes. But I believe we know that there are additional strategies that may probably, provide like flexibility or tax advantages. So let's talk about that. Like many people hear for a lot about 401k, but why are some people including life insurance in their long-term retirement strategies? Because this is happening, and we just want to simplify and just get that out there. Why are some people doing that? Is life insurance another way to actually plan for retirement?
That's a
Modupe?
very good. That's a very good question, Debola. I'm going to take it on and pass it on to Demola to probably finish up, my thought process, since I know he knows how to think the way I'm thinking. Okay. All right. So this is an area that has literally, thrown on conversations, and people are like saying, "Yay, yeah, yeah." But hey, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest, this is the part I tell people to calm down. Let's explain.
Calm down.
Um, Qualified retirement plans, like we said, it's that bucket that you want to ask yourself the question: where is the money going to? Where is it kept? So at the end of the day, you find out that it's found in the investment bucket. And because we are in an economical system that does not operate in isolation, so which means I have the money market, I also have the capital market, I have the stock market. And all of these are subject and predominantly exposed to volatility. So why are others looking into these other strategies in this age and time? So that they can get themselves what I call a solid protection portfolio in place. So some of these families will explore these strategies because they're looking for something that will offer flexibility for future income. It's like they're literally putting all their eggs in one basket. If they shun protection portfolio and go all the way into investment portfolio, right? So something that will be able to provide them future income, estate planning, or even supplemental retirement planning. So many people don't realize that certain types of, and you said it, and I'm going to emphasize it, listeners, I hope you're listening to us, audience. There are some types of permanent life insurance policy. I like to call it cash value life insurance policies, if when properly structured, well funded, properly designed to meet your needs in alignment with your needs analysis, will provide you beyond just the death benefit. So which means they build cash value over time. And they build this cash value in a tax advantage, environment. Number one is tax deferred. When you're ready to take money out of it, you take it on a tax advantaged basis. And you can potentially access these funds later on in life. So individuals are also thinking in the same direction of saying things had evolved.
Yeah.
We're not going to play 1926 script in 2026. So for some families, these strategies will not only offer them flexibility for future income, when it comes to their estate planning needs, it comes perfect, solid. When it comes to them supplementing retirement, income and providing protection for their loved ones, it comes very handy. And that's the reason why they're exploring search. But I just want to beckon on people and say, hey, when you start looking into these strategies, sit before someone will understand what they're doing.
Very important.
You don't want to get yourself, messed up. We're talking about your hard-earned money here. We want to make sure that we're putting it in the appropriate bucket, working with those who will understand what they are doing. Demola said it. That's what we do every day, twice on a weekend. And I know you already know I like to say twice on a weekend. That's what we do, right? And to be honest, be our guest if you like to learn more. But I'm sure I trust you that Demola has something to still say. So I'm throwing it back at him. Go for it, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, it's very interesting that people lack a lot of knowledge. And when you lack knowledge, instead of you to seek knowledge, we don't. And this is one of the things that you don't get from Wall Street. And some of the things you don't even get from Main Street. And you have to, you have to seek some type of knowledge elsewhere to be able to take advantage of certain things. So basically what we're saying is, we're not saying a life insurance is an investment. That's not what we're saying. What we're just saying is there are some tax advantages, there's some protection that comes under the life insurance umbrella that a lot of people are not seeing. Why? Because there's no education around it. So we're bringing the education to we just putting the spotlight on it and saying, people, look, there are other things out there that you can take advantage of other than just the 401ks, the Roth. What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve tax advantage? Are you trying to protect yourself from the market downturn, the volatility of the market? Are you trying to protect yourself from estate planning? Is it, are you trying to avoid paying more than your fair share of taxes? Do you know what strategies are out there? So some people value the ability to be able to access funds without some of the restrictions that some of all these other traditional retirement accounts may have. However, these strategies must be structured correctly, like Modupe said. And you have to understand it. The important thing is understanding the retirement planning is broader than just one account type. It's about creating options for your future. It's about understanding what options are available to you. Like I always tell a lot of my people is, if you had these 3 fingers and each one of these fingers was good, 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 what would you pick? You could only pick good. But if you had good, better, best, obviously you will pick the best. But you can't pick the best if you don't know what options are available to you. That's all we're just saying. I'll throw it back to you, Adebola.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. I mean, it's good to really have that out there, because a lot of people just get confused about it, and some people don't even want to hear the let me plan for my retirement. Let insurance stay on its own side. But it's good to know that we have an insurance strategy or option that will also help us to supplement retirement plan. And not just that, we talk about estate planning and other areas of life, and the fact that it's quite flexible. So, like Mudipe said, if you want to know more about that, this is what we do. Just reach out to any one of us, and we'll be, glad to really help you out to at least give you more understanding. Okay, so as we prepare to round up this today's episode, and let's quickly talk about the situation whereby somebody feels that, oh, it's too late, or I'm this age, what can I do? So let's discuss the catch-up strategies for late starters if you didn't start early. And this is something that is common among many immigrants. They, because at the beginning they focus on financial priorities. That survival mode is there. They focus on family obligations, or their immigration costs and all those supporting relatives and all that. And they are not, into like, oh, let me put my retirement plan in place. So what will you say to someone in their 40s or 50s who feels that they feel behind with their retirement plan, and oh, what can I do? Is it too late for me? What will you say to them?
I tell people who make that particular statement, I say, whenever you wake up is your morning. Even though I know time has been lost, the only person who could restore the time is God Almighty. But hey, stop crying over spill milk. Just get up, dust your feet, and keep going. So at that point in time, if you realize that you're just starting late, because many of us in our community are actually doing that. But to
Yeah.
be honest, wherever you are, start. Whenever you wake up, is your morning. And you need to sit down and meet with a financial professional who is able to identify your situation and tell you where things are. Now, if we kind of narrow lens it into the qualified retirement plans out there are quite a few, catch up, strategies that even the government has thrown out there, right? So with all the 401k and all that, and I know I mentioned it, there are restrictions to the amount you can put in, right? As of 2026, the restricted amount or the threshold for 401k, 403b, TSP, I'm not saying the Roth, but I'm saying just the traditional, is 24,500. Okay. Now, but if you are just doing the traditional IRA, that's only 7,500. You see? Now, but if you're 50 plus, then there is a catch up to say, hey, you're starting late. How about you max funding, right? Give yourself a little push to meet up. Hopefully, right? And the threshold and catch up is 8,000. So you need to understand where you are right now. And many immigrants spend the years, focused on stabilizing their life, just like Debola said. But the important thing is to start now with intention. It's not that you start now and then you fall back again. No, start now and stay consistent rather than dwelling on lost time.
Yep.
Because it's better to start later, right, than never starting at all. Compounding hopefully will catch up, but you just have to now know that, well, you need to do extra time now because you started late. Any add-on from you, Demola?
Yeah, I mean, you also want to look on maybe just side hustles, again, you know, starting a business, doing something that would also help bring income in different ways. Because one of the things is, yes, you're trying to play catch up. So are you trying to play catch up with one stream of income? Or could you add
Yeah.
multiple streams of income that could also help you speed up? And that's one of the things. And as we talk about catching up, you also want to know the kind of instruments you're using to catch up. And that's where we started from. Because if you're going to if you're going to be using instruments whereby you constantly, being in the roller coaster of what the market is doing, then how do you ever get to your end goal? So
Hmm.
the light now becomes very dim, even at the end of the tunnel, because it's almost as if there's no light. Because every single time you gain in, you're losing because you're in the wrong strategy. So understanding the right strategy would also help you catch up. And look at it. Don't just stay in one place. Look at other things around that you could actually leverage. You could take
Different
advantage,
options, different
to
strategies.
bring in more income. And I think with that, that would definitely help. And it's not just about just getting multiple jobs. The question is, where you're earning money right now, how hard is that money working for you? You're already working hard. So where's your money? Is your money working as hard as you, or you just working to break your back? That's another question you should ask yourself. I'll
Thank
throw
you
back to
very
you.
much, Timola. Thank you very much. I mean, you guys have actually sliced this thing down, and I believe everyone got a piece out there today. And retirement planning, like you say, it's not just about aging, because people say, "Oh, I'm not old yet." It's actually about dignity. It's about stability, and having choices later in life. And for many immigrants, if we really want to look at it, this journey looks different. The way it is for me is different from the way it is for you. So we may start later, we may carry more responsibilities, but that does not mean wealth building is out of reach. So here at the Well Bridge, we believe financial education should empower, not overwhelm. So whether you're just opening your first retirement account or just trying to restructure your long-term strategy, remember this: progress matters more than the perfection. It's not
Hmm.
about perfection, but it's about progress. So thank you for joining us on this episode. Uh, don't forget to subscribe, stay connected, and share this with someone that you know would it would be of help to, and continue to build your bridge to financial stability, and maybe generational impact in your community. I
Yeah.
want to say thank you to Mudupe and Demola for doing a great job today, and till next time, join us again for another interesting topic. We want to say thank you and God bless you.
Man, take
Thank
care.
you,
God bless.
everyone. Bye.
Adios.
Adios. Yeah.